Georgia.
Yeah.
Kamau, put yourself in the position of the parents of these children. So we're going to see this clip out of Georgia. Let me give you guys a little bit of background here. At least I thought I was giving y'all some background. So this tweet was posted. And the tweet reads, in Georgia, Morgan County school bus driver James O'Neill fired and arrested after pushing siblings aged 6 and 10 years old for refusing to sit at the back of the bus. Parents say that the front of the bus is usually reserved for children of that specific age. So guess the race of the bus driver and guess the race of the children. Oh, what a sound it is too, Kamel.
All right, I'm gonna turn it on right now, folks.
Get back there! Get my brother! Shut your mouth! Get back there! What a pain in the neck you guys are! Get out of here! Get back there! Shut your mouth! Get back there! What a pain in the neck you guys are! Get out of here! Get back there!
So that is the clip. Obviously, a very short clip, but reveals quite a lot there. So again, the bus driver has been fired and arrested, but I am upset and very concerned about the ease in which this white male adult put hands on two children, not just one, two children. The optics of them sitting in the front of the back of the bus is ancillary. Like the fact that this man thought that he was fully entitled to put hands on children, to forcibly move them because they were not sitting in the seats that he thought that they should be sitting in, is appalling. But it's a reminder that Black children are not viewed as children. They are not given the same default assumptions of innocence and space that white children are given. What are your thoughts as you look at that, Kamal? Can you imagine, like, what would be your reaction if that was your daughter and a fucking white man gonna push her ass?
My first act would probably be to burn the bus down. This is a demonstration of anger.
Yeah.
But just to, this dude obviously is of a generation where he's used to getting away with that and used to the idea that Black kids are supposed to be subservient, or Black people are supposed to be subservient to his every wish and will. And so has no qualms whatsoever about putting his hands on and thinking this is the proper way in which for me to restore order is to send these Black kids to the back of the bus. So it's clear that that's the mentality of this bus driver. And probably, I'm sure they were reluctant to fire him. I'm sure they were very reluctant to be like, you know what, if it wasn't caught on video, we could all say something else was happening. And so I'm sure that's probably the only reason that this video was released, and so it was seen and it couldn't be denied that he is physically the bus driver pushing a 6-year-old and 10-year-old to get them to the back of the bus. So I think that's the reason why we have this happening. But I would just lose my mind. As my man DMX would say, there would be huge issues, let's say, for not only the school and the bus driver and the bus company and the bus district. That's just some crazy stuff that I'm trying to continually just get away with that. That's that Southern attitude. And again, it's not exclusive to the South, but that Southern attitude of we can get away with this, or we want to preserve some level of control to the point of they're going to start doing things like this, or they're going to continue doing things like this, is just outrageous.
So as somebody that's not a parent, I of course I have all the opinions about people's parenting, right? But so the issue of should children at a certain age have cell phones, right? I look at that, I'm like, I don't know if I give my 4th grader a cell phone or whatever, but goddamn, in situations such as any situation, but this one in particular, like if the children did not have the phones, if the children were not able to document unbiasedly what was happening, what was actually occurring, would they have been believed? Because so many of these instances of blatant racism, if they come just from regular folks, regular ass white folks out in the world, or if it comes from the police, we know if they were not captured on camera, that the situation would not have either gone in the black person's favor after the fact, or just the aggressor, the perpetrator, would have been believed and the victim would have been disbelieved, right? But for the video evidence. And I feel as though like our children have to be able to protect themselves in this way, right? Like give all the kids fucking cell phones, like, because Black children are not immune from racism. Black children are not immune from white racist violence. And because they are children and because they are Black, they will be more quickly more quickly discredited, right? Oh, this kid's lying. He's da 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 da. The babies need the opportunity to be able to capture what is occurring to them. So I'm so glad that this was able to be documented. And as you said, were it not documented, I bet you that motherfucker been picking up kids today for school, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's been picking up.
No, but yeah, he would have told some story. Like these kids, they were there fighting each other. I had no choice. They were destroying. They were threatening. They were, I'm sure he would have had all kinds of stories to get away with. And he had told it to his supervisor, who would have been nodding their head, going like, I understand why you had to do, or what happened, or they pushed you and you had to, like, you just put your arm out and they fell back, or whatever story he could have concocted, he would have. And it's always, you're right, it's the dilemma of like, you don't want your kid on the phone because there's so much things to see on the phone. Even when you put parent controls, they figure some of that out. But it's like they need some kind of way of contacting you, first of all, and then two, of like when things like this happen. So, it is a dilemma. Like we've cited, like I think my daughter's a little upset because everybody else in her 10-year-old, she's 10 years old, and she says everybody else in her class, she might be slightly exaggerating, has a phone. And we're like, well, you don't. And so maybe at some point, obviously at some point we will, but it's a scary thing to think that, all the things that happens in America, such an unsafe place, you send your kids to school and so many bad things or negative things can happen, that it just makes you think, homeschooling may be the answer, or some other a small school system in which you're doing it with friends and families and comrades and people you trust in terms of schooling. Because a lot of these things that happen outside the home, when you're not there to watch or to be careful of, because you have to spend your time raising resources to feed, clothe, and shelter. So it's a lot going on for parents to try to figure out in this world. But the last thing you want to do is to see your child abused on camera when you sent them to school because they're supposed to go learn something, or they're supposed to go on a school trip and enjoy themselves and learn something. But unfortunately, that's not what happens sometimes, and people have to deal with those consequences.
Terrible. I feel bad for kids because there are adults in certain positions of authority, your bus driver, your teacher, your principal, your youth pastor, I don't know what else, whatever. But there's adults, not your parents, that are in positions of authority around you. And as children are taught that, hey, go to the adult. If you have a problem, go tell the adult. Well, what if the adult is the one causing the fucking harm? You know what I mean? What if the adult is the one terrorizing you, right? And I feel for Black children. I'm glad that more parents, I hope that more parents are more understanding, because I come from a generation, Kamau, I don't know if you do or not, but if my teacher called my mother and said that I was doing something wrong, my mother would be like, "What's wrong with you?" She wouldn't. The teacher's getting believed, and is my point, right? Like there are some parents that do not. The adult is right in a lot of these situations because the adult knows better. The adult is the authority figure, and there's just sort of de facto credibility given to the word of the adult versus the child, right? So anyway, I'm glad that parents today believe their kids and ride with their kids and not just be riding with other funky ass adults.
And I think that has to do with like the urban lifestyle of city living that's made that changeover, where a lot of folks of the generation maybe right behind me, tell the stories of like, you go to school and get in trouble, that the teacher had a right to hit you, and then the parents would hit you, right? And that was considered normal, okay, just make sure the child is respectful and so forth. And I'm not necessarily saying that's completely correct in terms of what should happen, but it was understandable in terms of like, they had their own system of like, kids had their own place or had to be very respectful But I think that city living and the distrust, again, it comes with folks who are supposedly teaching or taking care of your child, and then them stepping outside of the lines of what you consider guidance. That's now shifted. Where you're right. The first thing is, what have you done to my child? Like, you know what I mean? And I believe my child. And obviously, there's some mishmash of all that because we can't act like the kid's always perfect. But there's no scenario at this day and age where somebody could put their hands on my child, and that seems to be the correct use of what their power authorizes them to do. So I've totally done that. That switch. If that was at one point something that people thought was the way to go, it totally isn't anymore. And so teachers beware, bus drivers beware. Don't put your hands on people's kids. Like.